The road is rocky and the way seems steep, but trot along, Jaja people, we've got to reach. Ethiopia land is where I and I from. We've got to take a positive stand to break down their evil devices. Evil man, where you gonna stand? Chant down Babylon kingdom, I have been chanted now. Oh, chant down Babylon kingdom, I have been chanted now. What was hidden from the wise and the prudent is now revealed to babe and suckling. Evil man, where you gonna stand? Don't you see your kingdom really stand? Gonna break down your evil devices. Babylon, fire, I go kingdom, run and tremble. Babylon kingdom, oh na na na, yeah. Say that with your chant down Babylon king.
The Nimrod-Abraham connection. According to the ancient Hebrew scribes, in the book of Jubilees, Abraham was a descendant through the line of Shem and Ham. In fact, Abraham's ancestors lived in the Cushite kingdom of ancient Mesopotamia. Nimrod was a Cushite king in ancient Babylon of Mesopotamia. Eber, in the book of Genesis, was the father of the Hebrews, married Nimrod's daughter. The book of Jubilees mentions the name of Nebrod, the Greek form of Nimrod, only as being the father of Asherod, the wife of Eber and mother of Peleg. In the book of Jubilees, chapter 8, verse 7, Eber's wife was Nimrod's daughter, a Cushite woman. According to Genesis chapter 11, and verses 15 through 27, Eber begot Peleg. Peleg begot Ru. Ru begot Sereg. Sereg begot Nahor. Nahor begot Terah. And Terah begot Abram, thus making Eber and Nimrod Cushite daughter named Asherod, the great-great-great-great-great-grandparents of Abraham. This account would thus make Nimrod an ancestor of Abraham, and hence of all Hebrews. In fact, the name Abraham simply means the mighty black prince. God changed his name from Abram to Abraham for a reason. Abram means mighty prince, and Ham means black. Thus Abraham means the mighty black prince, who descended out of a black Cushite kingdom, thus making Isaac, Jacob, and all 12 of his sons bloodline descendants through the royal lines of Shem and Ham.
The first scripture I'm going to go to is Genesis chapter 10 verse 6, and it reads, "And the sons of Ham, Cush, and Mizraim, and Put, and Canaan," meaning that Cush is the son of Ham, right? So, and as we know, Cush is the forefather of the Cushites, meaning the Ethiopians, black Africans. So, in verse 8 of Genesis chapter 10 it says, "And Cush begat Nimrod," meaning that Nimrod is the son of Cush. Nimrod was an Ethiopian, a black African. He began to be a mighty one in the earth. So Nimrod was clearly a black man according to the scriptures. But if you go onto the internet, for example, you'll see a bunch of whitewashed images. So let's continue. In verse 10 it reads, "And the beginning of his kingdom was Babel, later known as Babylon, and Erech, and Akkad, and Calneh, and in the land of Shinar." So Nimrod built a bunch of cities in the Middle East. Out of that land went forth Ashur, or also known as Assyria, and builded Nineveh, and the city Rehoboth, and Calah. So Nimrod, the main thing we need to take out of this is that Nimrod, a black Ethiopian, was the founder of Babylon. So Ethiopians built Babylon. And Ashur, or Assyria, and Nineveh, or in the Middle East, as we can see. So now think. So we just clearly established the fact that Babylon was built by Ethiopians, and that the Middle East was inhabited by black Africans. So who was born in Babylon? Abraham was born in Babylon. So in Genesis chapter 11 verse 27 it reads, "Now these are the generations of Terah." So Terah is the father of Abram. Terah begat Abram, later known as Abraham, Nahor, and Haran begat Lot. And Haran, so the brother of Abraham, died before his father, Terah, in the land of his nativity, in Ur of the Chaldeans. So Abraham and his family were born in Ur. Where is Ur? Well, let's look at the map. Ur is in Babylon. And we just established the fact that Babylon was built by Ethiopians and ruled by Nimrod, a black Ethiopian, which means that Abraham was born in a nation of black people, which means that Abraham himself was a black man. Clearly, that's what the scripture clearly tells us right here. So, and to cement this fact, actually, it doesn't even need cementing. That's a cut to anyone who wants to make the argument that Abraham was a Middle Eastern or an Arab. So he was clearly a black man. So was Babylon, so was Nimrod, so was everyone else in the Middle East before it was conquered over and over again. But let's look at some historians. So for example, John D. Baldwin. By the way, those people, the historians, and the quotes that I will show you are all Caucasians. So there's no Afrocentric or Hebrew Israelite or any other black supremacists or anything like that. Those are all European scholars that I'm about to show you. So John D. Baldwin, born in 1809 and died in 1883. He was an American politician, not a Hebrew Israelite, not an Afrocentric, an American politician, congressionalist, minister, newspaper editor, and popular anthropological writer. And the following quote comes from his book, Prehistoric Nations, page 60, and it reads, quote, "The Ethiopians were considered as occupying all of the south coast of Asia and Africa. This is the opinion of the Greeks." Now let's look at a map. South Asia is the area marked in green, and we just read that the Ethiopians lived from Asia all the way up to Africa, which of course includes the Middle East then. So another quote comes from Herodotus. He lived during the 5th century BC, and he was an ancient Greek historian. So the following quote comes from his book, The Histories, Book 1, Volume 1. And it reads, quote, "The uniform voices of primitive antiquity spoke of the Ethiopians as one single race, dwelling along the shores of the Southern Ocean, from India to the Pillars of Hercules." So we all know where India is, and the Pillars of Hercules are in North Africa, so marked by the red spot right there. So the Ethiopians, the Cushites, were inhabiting the area from India all the way up to Africa, which again includes the Middle East. So we already established the fact that black people lived all across the Middle East. But let's continue. So this is a quote from William Edward Burghardt Dubois, born in 1868 and died in 1963, and he was an American sociologist and historian. And the following quote comes from his book, The Negro, page 11. "Ancient statues of Indian divinities show the Negro type with black face and close curled hair, and early Babylonian culture was Negroid." Again, that's as clear as it gets. Babylon was a black nation. Abraham was born in Babylon, meaning that Abraham was a black man. So let's continue. This is from Sir Harry Johnston. He was born in 1858 and died in 1927. And if you look up Sir Harry Johnston and read some of his books, or just look him up, then you realize that he was pretty racist. So he didn't like black people. But this is what he had to say. First I will read his credentials to you. He was a British explorer, botanist, artist, colonial administrator, and linguist. He published 40 books on African subjects and was a key player in the scramble for Africa that occurred in the 19th century. The following quote comes from The Negro in the New World, page 27. So that's his book. And it reads, quote, "Negroid people with kinky hair inhabited the Babylonian homeland of the patriarch Abraham." That's, again, Abraham was born in a black nation. And also from the Europeans. So I just showed you the author of the books. I read to you their credentials, so proving to you or showing to you that those are not some random couch historians, but those were actual learned scholars. And then also I read to you or showed you what book you can find it in, so that everyone can do their own research. So we can conclude that since Abram was born in a black nation, that he didn't look like this, Christ didn't look like that, and not like that either, and that these people are clearly not the true Israelites. So
It is said that Abraham from the Bible was the mighty Cushite people. The Cushites included people of many different colors. Red Nubians, black Nubians, reddish-brown, Beja, Egyptians, reddish Ainu, and Edo who are the biblical Edomites. Abraham was Horite, Horam, and the oldest Horite shrine city is Nekhen along the Nile, 4000 BC. Abraham's territory was extended between Hebron and Beersheba. It was entirely Edom.